It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. We are not invincible. Okay, let me explain. So, about a week ago, I was over at Walt Disney World and I was enjoying the Magic Kingdom. Specifically, I was on Tom Sawyer's Island. Now, I don't know if you have ever had a chance to do that, but it's super cool. You can go on Tom Sawyer's Island, you can mess around. They have like a fort, they've got tree houses, they've got caves. I mean, it's incredible. They really did a fantastic job recreating the whole epic adventure of Tom and Huck Finn. It was just a beautiful, beautiful day. Everything was going well. We were having a blast, having a good time. And I was feeling on top of the world. I was with my family. Things were good. Everybody was happy. I mean, it was just a real nice time. And then I met my arch nemesis. So, my arch nemesis for the day happened to be on the way back to the raft that sails you across the river to get to the other side. I I didn't see two steps, and I did the stupid, goofy thing, and I completely biffed on the first step, slid down the second step, and collapsed and landed on the ground. Now, a fall is normally not such a big deal. But when you fall with such grace and eloquence that I did, it was a big deal. For the first time ever, I felt like I was a really old person who just had a really bad fall. Both of my lower legs were scraped pretty badly. I had, dead skin hanging down, blood everywhere, children panicking. You could imagine I'm at Disney World. So, what do? We said, accidents happen, things are good. But I said, I need to sit here for a moment and kind of gather myself. So I did. I sat there and I gathered my thoughts and I collected my thoughts. And I said, I feel like the stupidest person on the planet. And I was so embarrassed. And then magic happened. There was a young couple who looked like they had worked out quite a bit. It was a husband and wife and children. And they said, Sir, are you okay? They said, Do you need help up? And the guy immediately just grabbed me, and the woman grabbed my underneath my arms, and they helped me up. And I don't recall whether I ever said thank you, but if I didn't, I should have, because I was really grateful that they took the time to help me up off of the ground. Now, what that made me realize is that in life, there's so many times where we get knocked down, and we just kind of need a minute to gather our thoughts and see where we are and see what's going on. But how many times you get knocked down really doesn't matter. What matters is how many times you get back up. And could I have gotten up on my own volition? Yeah, it would have taken me a few minutes, but I could have gotten up, And of course, my wife and my oldest daughter offered to help, but I didn't want them to hurt their back or anything trying to get me off the ground. That would be no fun. So I was trying hard to think of how I would present this and what I was going to say. And the more I thought about it, the importance of getting back up when you fall, the importance of trying again is so incredibly important. Once I got up, I felt better. I was still injured, obviously, and they were still bleeding and things going on. But my first thought that came to my mind is that I didn't want to ruin this beautiful day that I had with my two daughters and my wife. I didn't want to be, that guy had said, "Okay, now it's time for us to go home. I'm injured." I wanted to just add joy to whatever was going on. So when you're that dad and you're in the mood to add joy and you sail to the other side, what do you do next? Well, I had two options. I could go to first aid and try to get things cleaned up and figure out just how bad things were, or we could go straight to our preset time to ride Big Thunder Mountain. So, of course, being a dad that I am, you don't have to guess what I did. Big Thunder Mountain, here we come. So we went in Big Thunder Mountain and we were waiting in line. And it wasn't until we were about to board when there was a little girl who pointed at my leg, and there was blood running down my leg from my knee all the way down to my ankle. And I'm like, you know what? I probably should have went to first aid first. But it was still one of those things where, me being the stupid guy that I am, said, Hey, I'm going to do this. And I rode that ride with my daughter, and I sat with my youngest daughter, and my older daughter and my wife sat behind me. And what I can tell you is the joy that I heard coming from the car behind me, with my wife just laughing and having such a good time, that was priceless to me. And there was no amount of pain medication needed because that joy just took away all the pain. And it reminded me of why things need to be put in perspective and why certain things are so important. But hearing her laugh really loud, out loud, and having fun with my older daughter and seeing my younger daughter just look at me and smile, and it sounds silly because it's just an amusement park ride. It's just an attraction, but it meant so much more that day. It was a story of all the twists and turns that we have in our life, a story of falling down and getting back up, a story of someone in your path that's going to uplift you and help you. Those good Samaritans, I don't know who they were, but I remember something really weird. They were wearing white shirts with some writing on the front and white pants. And I'm like, who comes to the park in white shirts and white pants? But then when we got on a raft, which is the last raft to leave the island, they weren't on the raft. So I asked myself if that was an angel looking over me saying, hey, you got this. And I think that in life, we go through ups and downs, we go through falls, we go through twists and turns. And even when you feel like you're invincible and that nothing can happen to you, the world is a fragile place. You're a fragile person and things can happen. And I guess today I'm asking you to celebrate who you are, but celebrate it with the people that you're closest to. Don't let a day go by that you don't remind them of who you are and what happens in your life. Now, I know what you're thinking. Did I ever make it to first aid? And the answer is yes. After Big Thunder Mountain, I made it to first aid where they had a kind registered nurse who had previously worked in an emergency room where she was happy to use a moist towel and put me through the worst pain I've been in a long time to clean things up. Because she says, I don't understand how it all got dry so fast. It was all dried up and clotted. And I'm like, oh boy, and there was dirt in it. And I'm like, yay. So it was one of those opportunities where they had to scrape away at it to make sure there was nothing stuck in there and that everything was good. The other thing she was quick to point out is that the swelling was about the size of a tennis ball. She says, you probably want to go get that checked out. She says, when below your knee is bigger than your knee, you probably want to get that checked out. And I'm like, oh, well, we'll see what happens, right? So the hardest part for me was what happened next. So they got me all suited up. They cleaned everything up. They put some non-adhesive stuff on there and cleaned it all up nice and wrapped it for me. Got me an ice pack to get the swelling down. And then she says, okay, let's get your wheelchair. And I'm like, no. So then I was in a wheelchair. And it hurt. It hurt me. It hurt my pride. And I think part of it was knowing that other people were going to have to push me around. It's hard to navigate by yourself in a wheelchair in that setting. Sorry, I got choked up. It's hard. And it showed me that it raised my awareness for people who have disabilities, or for people who are injured, or for people who are trying to enjoy life from that perspective. And as my wife and daughter took turns pushing me around in a wheelchair for the rest of our day, my wife made probably the most brilliant quote that I took to my heart, and I didn't let it escape. She says, she says, I look at it this way. She says, my legs are going to be very strong by the time this is over. She says, it's going to make me stronger. And I couldn't help but get a tear in my eye when I heard that, because as humbling as it was for me, it had to be incredibly hard for them to do what they did, to get me to continue to have a good time, and me being the misbehaving person I am, to get me to keep ice packs on. If I was walking and they started to slip, I would have thrown them away. But because I was in a wheelchair, I couldn't do that. They were strapped to my legs and nothing I could do. I was just like, great. But I learned so many lessons that day. And I think the most important takeaway was that, well, I'll give you three. Number one is love conquers all. The way that my family took care of me and worried about me and did the things that they did, it was beyond impressive. And I mean, I knew they loved me, but this was special. This was different. Number two is I need to be that good Samaritan more often. I need to stop and help others. And I do, but I need to do it more. And it was just a gentle reminder, a nudge to let me know that that's something I need to be focused on. And I think number three, and probably the most important, is when you fall, the most important thing isn't to make sure that you are okay, it's to get back up again. Because I think life was designed in such a way that with the twists and turns, the ups and downs, that it's important for us to get up and to make a difference. So I hope you enjoyed this Friday, not so agile episode of the Daily Stand Up. Kind of a cool life story and with a lot of life lessons included. But I hope you have an amazing weekend. Tune in next week for some more crazy episodes of the Daily Stand Up. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.